Okay, so in this explainer, we are diving into something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. We're talking about using some of the most advanced science on the planet to bring back an animal that's been extinct for 4,000 years. The one and only woolly mammoth.
I mean, it's a wild idea, right? But the science is very, very real, and it makes us ask this huge question. Can we actually reverse extinction? Can we bring back a piece of a lost world? Let's dig in and see how this all gets started.
So, our story doesn't actually begin in a sterile, high-tech lab. Nope. It starts out in the vast, frozen landscapes of the Arctic. Because the key to all of this, it's been locked away, waiting for us inside the ice itself. You see, for tens of thousands of years, the Arctic permafrost has basically been a giant natural freezer. It's this perfect time capsule that has preserved the remains of ancient creatures in, well, unbelievable condition.
And what scientists are finding in there is it's mind-blowing. We're not just talking about old fossilized bones here. They are discovering actual preserved tissues, sometimes even whole cells that are still intact. And the real prize? Fragments of DNA. This is the blueprint of life for the woolly mammoth.
Okay, so we have the ingredients. But how in the world do you take ancient, frozen, shattered bits of DNA and turn it into a complete, readable instruction manual for building a mammoth? That's the next puzzle. Probably the best way to think about it is like this. Imagine trying to reassemble a hugely important document that was put through a paper shredder thousands of years ago. All the information is technically there, but it's in millions of tiny, jumbled up pieces. The real challenge is figuring out how to put them back in the right order. And this is where the major breakthrough happens. Scientists figured out that the woolly mammoth's genome is 99.9% identical to its closest living relative, the Asian elephant. That tiny 0.1% difference, that's everything that makes a mammoth a mammoth.
This discovery was the absolute key. It was the game changer. By using the complete, perfectly intact genome of the Asian elephant as a reference, kind of like a guide or a map, scientists can now take all those shredded mammoth DNA fragments and piece them together in the correct order.
So, we can finally read the code. Awesome. But how do we turn that code into a living, breathing animal? Well, let's take a look at the recipe for de-extinction. It really all boils down to 4 critical stages. First, you have to assemble that complete mammoth genome we talked about. Second, you pinpoint the specific genes for all those unique mammoth traits. You know, the shaggy fur, the cold resistance. Third, you use gene editing tech to literally alter the DNA of a modern elephant embryo. And finally, you get to the long process of gestation and bringing that embryo to term. Now, the technology that makes all of this even remotely possible is called CRISPR. The simplest way to think of it is as a pair of molecular scissors. It's this amazingly precise tool that lets scientists find a very specific spot in the DNA, snip out a gene, and paste a new one in. So in this case, you're swapping an elephant gene for a mammoth one. Honestly, the best analogy is the find and replace function you use in a word processor. It's incredible. Scientists can literally search for a specific genetic trait in the elephant's DNA, like the gene for thin hair, and just replace it with the corresponding gene from the mammoth for shaggy fur. So what exactly are they changing? What are these mammoth upgrades? Well, they're editing the elephant genome to include all the key mammoth traits. That iconic shaggy fur, a super thick layer of insulating body fat, smaller ears to keep from getting frostbite, and even a unique kind of blood that let them survive an extreme cold. So you can see the science is moving forward at an absolutely incredible speed. But this brings us to a much bigger, much more complicated question. We're getting really close to being able to do this, but should we?
And this is a deeply divisive issue, let me tell you. On one side, you have people arguing that it could help restore ecosystems we've already damaged, maybe even help fight climate change. But on the other side, critics are raising some really serious concerns about animal welfare, the ecological consequences we can't predict, and even the risk of releasing ancient diseases. The argument in favor often frames this as a kind of ecological duty. Supporters say that mammoths were a keystone species, basically an animal that played a critical role in keeping its habitat healthy. They maintained the Arctic grasslands. And the argument goes, bringing them back could help restore that lost natural balance. But the counter-argument here is deeply compelling. It forces us to think about the life of the animal itself. Are we just creating a science experiment? A creature that's destined for a lonely life? It's a social animal that would have no family, no herd, no elders to teach it how to be a mammoth. It's an ethical minefield.
So, with all these huge ethical questions hanging in the air, where does this project actually stand right now? Let's take a look at the current timeline.
Things are moving fast. The full genome was sequenced way back in 2015. A really well-funded company, Colossal Biosciences, was started specifically for this, and they have a public target of producing the first mammoth-like calf by 2028. And the ultimate goal? Reintroducing them into a project called Pleistocene Park, a nature reserve in Siberia that's trying to restore that ancient ecosystem.
So the bottom line is this. This entire idea has moved firmly out of the world of science fiction and into the world of tangible, well-funded science and engineering. The ambition is real, the technology is getting there, and that makes all those ethical questions more urgent than ever. Which leaves all of us with this final, really powerful question. For the first time in human history, we are developing the power not just to destroy life, but to recreate it. If we truly hold that kind of power in our hands, what are the rules we should live by? It's a question we all need to start thinking about, and soon.